Okay, we go looking at Nate's backstroke here. Let's take a look at his kick first. A couple pauses in there as he's transferring over from the left and right side. I'd like to see a little bit higher tempo kick here, Nate. It's already pretty quick, but want to make sure we're really sprint kicking through the back. Moving on, looking at his body line. As I talked about in the previous videos, that's what we want to avoid. That's what's slowing us down in backstroke. How do we fix that? Well, good question. I need to see more of the swimmer's head in the water. So Nate, as you're swimming through this right here, you got your head up too high, buddy. I need to see your head lower in the water. I need to see at least half of it with just your face out. And right now, we're only seeing the very back of your head. So we got to make sure that we lower that in the water. Once we lower that in the water, that'll bring your hips up. So you see how your hips are lower than your shoulder line. You got to make sure those hips stay stuck to the surface. The second they drop down and get lower, we slow down quite a bit because the water's got to move around you. So make sure the head's back, and you got to physically press your hips up to the surface as you're swimming backstroke. That'll keep you flat, and that'll keep you fast. Moving on, let's talk about this pull. So Nate and I have done some work on this pull, and what we talked about is pushing water back and then drawing the hand straight up. What was happening earlier is Nate was pushing down, kind of like you see here. He pushes, he's got quite a few bumps here, but the hand pushes down on the other side. There you go. Way down towards the bottom, and then he pulls back up. That creates extra time. So the distance that it takes to go from hand being here stuck down and then up to the surface and then up around was just taking too long. So Nate, you got to keep your mind's eye on making sure that when you catch, you're pressing back, straight back. Use your core to rotate instead of using your hand to rotate. So catch, press back, and then once you're pressed back, once the hand is fully extended back out, then just go straight up. That way you'll reduce the amount of time you're taking on your pulls, which will increase your tempo, which will increase your speed. Now, saying that, you'll see how when Nate's hand enters, he starts bending right away. Not necessarily a bad thing, but he's entering and bending really shallow. So Nate, when you enter the water, I want your arm to stay straight until it's crossed this line. Alright, because any water that you pull on this line or above this line is too shallow. It's not going to move you far enough. So keep the arm straight like it is here until it's reaching down under the line. And at that point, that's when I want you to start pulling back. So pull back to the hip and then straight out again for the next arm cycle. Beyond that, pretty good job. So the biggest thing, obviously, is the body line. So the head back, the hips up, and then increase the flutter kick after that. And then finally, make sure the arms are hitting below the body line on the pull before you start pulling back. And that'll increase how much water you're pulling. Good job.